issue. If someone does have an abuse to it or anything like it, it needs to be treated more as a social issue, not a criminal issue. That needs to be one of the number one things that need to be addressed, because you're not a criminal because you've tried and experienced something and you become addicted. That doesn't make you a criminal. What makes you a criminal is you go do a criminal act, maybe violating something or breaking into someone's home or stealing something or harming someone. But doing a little harm to yourself, that's not a criminal activity. And that's one thing we need to address as people. Oh, I'm sorry. That's one thing we need to address is get this person help. Let's invest money in rehabilitating this person, because a contributing citizen is helping the country grow. Someone locked up in a cage is not helping this country grow. We need contributing citizens working and contributing, paying taxes and doing things, not us paying taxes to keep someone locked away.
Shout out to Chicago media. Shout out to the Associated Press. So there's an article called U.S. to End Policy, U.S. Attorney General to End Policy that let legal pot flourish. Attorney General Jeff Sessions is going after legalized marijuana. Sessions is rescinding an Obama administration policy that had let legalized marijuana flourish without federal intervention across the country. That's according to two people with direct knowledge of the decision. They were not allowed to publicly discuss it before an announcement expected this past Thursday, and spoke on condition of anonymity. The move will leave it to the U.S. attorneys, where pot is legal, to decide whether to aggressively enforce federal marijuana law or not. The move likely will add to confusion about whether it's okay to grow, buy, or use marijuana in states where it's legal, since long-standing federal law prohibits it. So I want to say this before I pass it on to the round table. We have this problem with slavery before the 3/5 compromise. I mean, in the history of American history, leading up, predating the Civil War. So there was all this discussion in the late 1700s, early 1800s of, certain states, mainly in the North, had really evolved past slavery, but Southern states this is just really their money maker. And then in terms of the Northern states that did support it, it was about making money. Where I tie that parallel in is here we are having to argue for the most sensible policy, which would be decriminalization of cannabis, instead of the entrapment, like you talked about earlier, of putting people in a cage just for smoking a joint. You know what I mean? Veterans got to stay out in the cold, in the winter, because they got a federal marijuana a felony from smoking a joint that now messed up their record. So now they can't get a job, they can't get, you know what I mean? You destroy lives with this, and now the spearhead of that counterculture has revealed himself, as we spoke about at the beginning of the segment. So Jeff Sessions has now showed his hand, and is now letting us know that it's an all-out war. Cannabis, pro-cannabis versus anti-cannabis.
Yeah, and the thing is, I want all of us to understand as citizens of this country, do we want our tax dollars spent on incarcerating people and keeping people caged up, or whether that money goes towards schools and investment in entrepreneurship? There's a lot of entrepreneurship in all these other states that have legal marijuana. Why would we want to waste money in paying for people to kick down people's door for growing a plant, sending them through court, probation officers? If nothing else, let's get these people help and get these people off the streets, those veterans. If we really want to care about our veterans, this is a way to get them off the streets, because I read an article in Denver several months ago that the marijuana tax that's coming off, they peeled off $3 million and built a homeless shelter. So those are the things that we can do with decriminalization and legalization, creating a legal market for this. We can stimulate our state, and our state needs it. Why wouldn't this is probably the biggest state as far as land base outside of California. We have a perfect opportunity here in Texas to be huge in this market and be the actual game changer to pretty much break the bow. If a state like Texas were to join, and on the other side, think about what that would do to the rest of the country. It would be the kind of the straw that broke the camel's back for legality.
The tipping point, if you will.
Right, the tipping point. And that's what we need. We need somebody to step up. So I know a lot of the roundtable people, y'all are locals here to Texas, hey, let's get together and let's get behind this man here. Sean runs a really good thing here at DFW Normal, man, and we need more support. So anybody that can lend support, finance, time.
Well, sorry.
No, go ahead, man.
But no. Like, shout out to all activists and entrepreneurs. Shout out to the roundtable community. You know what it is. Shout out to just those that are willing to think outside the box.
Yes.
We don't have to live under a racist drug law guided society. We can free the plant. We can free the leaf. And we can all, you know what I mean? I don't know if you agree, Sean. We can create more business and we can promote more wealth than we're destroying just simply by flipping the switch and saying, hey, it's time to decriminalize.
Well, I agreed with everything you said until you said decriminalize, because all that means...
Or legalize.
Legalize, that's the key word for me.
Okay.
Because what I'm looking for is a market to be able to legally exist. In a decriminalized state, the market can't legally exist. It's just okay to have.
It's socially okay.
Decriminalized does not mean you're going to have a pot shop on the corner where you can go and pay taxes to help fill potholes in your community because you're paying a consumption-based tax on a product like you have in Colorado. So for me, legalization is the only way forward. I would be happy with decriminalization because it means people not going to jail for possession, which, to be clear, people aren't going to jail for consuming cannabis. The law is not against consuming it. It's against having it. And so when people stop going to jail just for having a plant, it creates the opportunity for the market to start there. Because all we have right now in Texas is a black market. Everyone knows somebody who grows pot, probably. I mean, if you don't, then fine. But I know a few people who grow pot.
Right.
And whether it's legal or not is irrelevant to them because they're going to do what they're going to do because they're Americans and they're Texans and they're all high and mighty on their high horse. But for me, I want the laws to change because I don't have problems getting pot. The legalization isn't for me. Legalization is for Grandma Gladys, who doesn't have a me, to bring her pot because she doesn't know anybody. And she found out in her 50s that, oh crap, I should have been consuming this because it could have been helping me out. So legalization is the only way that patients who need it get it, because in every medical state in this country, there are patients who are left off of that list of qualifying conditions. Except in California, where you can pretty much get a liberally issued medical marijuana card. But, my friend Eric, who has cerebral palsy, that is not a qualifying condition in any state that I know of. Except maybe California for medical marijuana.
Fit.
Yeah, so if you are diagnosed as handicapped, disabled, and you are still not eligible for medical marijuana, well, that is a bad medical marijuana law. And so what we have here in Texas, the Texas Compassionate Use Program, which all it is a big old gotcha to the marijuana movement that says, hey, look, we gave you your medical marijuana. We gave you what you wanted. You said you wanted it for seizures. Here it is. Here's what you got. But the people who don't know anything about it, they're realizing, well, this CBD oil that's about to be on the market is only a small percentage different from what's already been legally available since 2014, since the passage of the Farm Act. So if these plants are grown with a low enough amount of THC, it's already okay to make this CBD oil out of it. And so this Texas Compassionate Use Program, all it is this thing that these lawmakers get to say, look, we gave you your medical marijuana, now shut up. Let us implement this. Let us
stay in your place.
Let us get some years into this program, and then we'll talk about it. And that's just a dumb way to look at it, especially when our lawmakers decide it's a good idea to only meet every 2 years for 6 months. And they have to hear thousands of potential laws, thousands of bills, and they don't have time to talk about something that they're not passionate about. And so for me, legalization is the only way forward. I will always fight for legalization, not just because I want to be able to consume, but because I want people who need it, who may not necessarily qualify, to be able to consume it and have honest conversations with their doctors about it, and to be able to not fear losing their children or their student loans or their home or their driver's license just because they choose to use a non-addictive substance known as cannabis rather than prescription drugs.
And then let's touch on that also.